Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Training Industry Leader Talk, Creating Training Content with AI, sponsored by Camtasia, ComLab India, DID, GP Strategies, and Neovation Learning. I'm Avery Vogt, Events Manager here at Training Industry, and I'm so thrilled you could all join us today. Before we get started, I'd like to go over just a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speakers and get the most out of today's program. Throughout today's event, please feel free to use the chat for comments and submit questions in the Q&A panel. All questions will be addressed during the event or at the end of the program during our Q&A section. Once this session ends, a brief survey will appear in your browser. Please take a moment to share some feedback on the session and our speakers. And as always, all of our sessions are being recorded and will be archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us with a link to the on-demand sessions. If this is your first Training Industry event, a special welcome goes out to you. Training Industry exists to make connections among learning and development professionals. We offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D through live events like today's Leader Talk, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, and our podcasts. We would also love to hear what you've learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us on your favorite platforms, and let's continue the conversation. And now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to today's speakers. Jennifer Bell leads Neovation's Custom Learning team, consisting of a talented group of instructional designers, e-learning developers, and project managers. Together, they've partnered with organizations across North America to capture complex expertise and transform it into training that drives real performance. Adam Lamb has spent over 25 years helping organizations turn complex content into training that actually sticks. As a senior instructional designer at Neovation Custom Learning, he specializes in building immersive, scenario-based learning experiences designed to change behavior rather than just check a box. Adam and Jennifer, we are super excited to have you here today. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Avery. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Avery, and for everybody for being here and spending a powerful day talking about the power of AI. We're excited to be the final session in the series and look forward to a really productive day together. So with that, please do ask questions. We'll do our best to address them as we go, but if there's anything that we missed, we'll make sure that we cover it at the end. And please don't worry about taking notes because we'll make sure that we've got some nice little assets and such that we can send out to you afterwards. Our main goal for today is to provide you with something that is immediately useful and non-technical that you can take back to your team to help you leverage AI even better. So as we're talking about AI, we're talking about efficiency, but speed without quality isn't a win. It's actually a risk. We know that people are really excited to leverage AI. They live in the hope that it'll fulfill the promise of ease and efficiency, but there's also the pressure of responsible use, identifying hallucinations and errors, and ensuring value in the end product. And frankly, improved tools are needed because projects are coming faster, there's more of them, they have tighter timelines, and expectations are being set based on this understanding that AI makes everything easy. So the challenge is finding a strategic workflow and practical ways to leverage tools to make L&D projects easier and faster, while ensuring that the final result is something that you want to put your name on and will deliver the actual results that you need. So let's start off with a quick question. What do you see as the biggest challenge in leveraging AI tools as a standard in your L&D workflows? We'll get that poll up and running. Give you a few moments to think about the best fit for your organization. Quality and accuracy, getting some immediate hits there. That's always a huge concern, right?
Yes. Is the AI hallucinating or giving me the latest and greatest content?
Right. Trust, and we have the right to be skeptical. Okay, Avery, why don't we go ahead and show those results?
I shared those.
So I think what we were seeing is that there's a lot of concerns about quality and accuracy. But across the board, there's which tools do we use? Where should it fit? Where's the human element? And that's what we're here to chat about today as well. What today isn't is it's not a look at what AI can do as a highlight reel. This is meant to be a practical co-design workflow that allows you to leverage tools and control the quality and the outcome. It's a well-constructed workflow and isn't just about well-written prompts. They're certainly important, but this is about thinking about how to use AI and the workflow that drives that efficiency, accuracy, and quality. So with that, the expert controls the standards with the content that can be reused for multiple projects and drive consistency across them. AI works as that intern and then drafts specific assets. And the expert uses a checklist to review, shape, and refine those outputs before finally you get that information into the hands of the stakeholder for them to complete a review of that content. Yeah, constant content changes is definitely a challenge. So for today, we're going to set up a fake organization. This represents a real-world situation that organizations face every single day. And in this scene, Adam is playing the role of an instructional designer at Maple and Steel Consulting, MSC. They're a mid-sized professional services firm. They're about 400 people. They're fast growing and they're really feeling the pain of inconsistency. Their human resources team does a great job of handling high-level onboarding, but the individual group leaders are responsible for new hire enablement on the role side. And that means that knowledge lives in documents and inboxes and people's heads, and I'm sure that all of that sounds really, really familiar. So Adam just got an email from a delivery director, and in short, it says, "Hey, we need something for new project managers by Friday. Can you make it happen?" And this situation, I'm sure, sounds really familiar. It happens every single day. People have a need, they have limited timelines, and L&D's role is to figure out how to say yes. So, Adam, let's kick off the process. Over to you.
Thanks, Jen. So yeah, this is very familiar. And so let's see here what I'm working with. I've got a two-page project playbook, which is really more of a brain dump, a client kickoff checklist in a Google Doc, a vague timeline, and six humans who need to stop making some mistakes. This isn't a bad brief. It's actually a pretty common and normal one in our world. And this is exactly where AI is going to help me to move fast without skipping the thinking. Okay, so a bit of context before I dig in. What you're seeing here is Claude. Maybe you may have heard of it or you may have used it yourself. It's essentially a conversational AI from Anthropic. If your team is already using tools such as ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or Microsoft Copilot, you're in familiar territory. These tools all work in similar ways, and the prompts and process I'm showing you today translate cleanly across any of them. I'm using Claude for this first stretch for two specific reasons. The first is projects. It's a way of collecting and sorting content for a project, and it holds all of my context, the company profile, the source documents, the design constraints in one persistent workspace. In the split pane view that you'll see, lets me watch the draft evolve right next to my prompts. That matters for a live demo like this, and it matters even more for an iterative design work you're about to see. Now, before I write a single prompt, notice that I've already done the most important step. I've created the project, and everything the AI needs to do its job is right here. If we look at the project instructions, they tell the AI who MSC is, their values, their tone, and their culture. I've defined who the audience is, the design constraints, and the learning objective. That objective is the line I want to highlight. The original brief didn't include one. I wrote it based on the source material and Sarah's intent. That's a design decision, not an AI decision. And if you look into the files section of this project, you'll notice that I uploaded the two documents Sarah attached in her email as source material. The AI draws from these, not from the internet. And you can see I've already generated two drafts, a storyboard draft and a scenario. And I did this before the session. We'll focus our time on the part that really matters, reviewing and editing those outputs. So the intent here is to be reusable. The next time MSC sends a brief, the workspace is ready. Later, I'll switch to Notebook LM, another AI tool, to show the same approach. The principle is the same. Front load your context so every prompt starts from a shared foundation. So that's the setup. Now let's see what the AI does with that. But first, before I show the storyboard, I want to flag something for the leaders in the room. Jen?
Thanks, Adam. And this actually speaks to what Dolores and Darby were saying in the comments about content changing so quickly. Is when you are start fast and then go slow, you can actually have reusable constraints with your content creation. It's a critical step when working with AI because AI is not actually an expert at all, although it can convincingly portray one. It's a helpful intern that doesn't have any of the context, nuanced history, or expertise that the human does. So Adam's going to show you how he leverages AI, what he does and doesn't accept. And this is where the value of the expertise of you and your team lives, and a non-negotiable step within the process. Back to you, Adam.
Cool. Thanks, Jen. All right. Before I show you the draft, here's why I'm building the storyboard first. The storyboard is the fastest way to get alignment with your stakeholders. It's cheaper to rearrange screens in an outline than to rebuild a finished module. And for your team, having a repeatable storyboard workflow means every designer starts from the same foundation, even if they have different levels of experience. That consistency matters at scale. Okay, so here's the prompt that I used to generate the storyboard. Before I show you the output, I want to walk you through what's in it, because the way you structure a prompt makes a real difference in what you get back. Don't worry about jotting any of this down. The prompt templates will be in the package that we deliver to you later. So the first four are the mechanics. I'm telling the AI what to use, the playbook and the checklist, what to build, a storyboard outline, how to format it with a screen title, type, content points, and visual notes, and the constraints, 20 to 30 minutes, self-paced. Those are the guardrails, but the last two are where the design thinking lives. Tone. Plain spoken, action oriented, friendly, but firm. The project already holds MSC's voice guidelines, but reinforcing it in this prompt keeps the output on brand. This is the line that prevents the AI from defaulting to generic corporate speak. And finally, this is the most important line of the entire prompt, the learning objective. After completing this module, new PMs will be able to independently prepare for and lead their first client kickoff meeting using MSC's standard process. This came from me, not the brief. Sarah's email didn't include one. Thanks, Sarah. I wrote it based on the source material and her intent. If you take one thing from this prompt, it's this. The AI doesn't set the objective. You do. Okay, so that's the anatomy. Inputs, task, structure, constraints, tone, and objective. The detailed templates are going to be included in the toolkit we'll share after this session. Now, let me show you what came back. So here's the prompt that I used to load the draft I already generated. And on the right, here's what I got back. 17 screens organized around 3 phases of a kickoff: before the meeting, during the meeting, and after. The AI drew from the playbook in the checklist to build the content. A quick note before I dig in. Claude takes about a minute or so to generate each of these artifacts, so I've taken the cooking show approach and I've pre-run each prompt in a separate chat. You'll see me move between the tabs in my browser as we go. That way we can focus on the design thinking, not the loading spinner. I value your time. So let me read through this. As I scroll, do the same thing. Look for look for what you'd keep and what you'd change. See if you spot what I spot. Okay, here, section 7. So I think the overall sequence makes sense. It follows the natural flow of a kickoff with the prepare, run the meeting, and follow-up phases. That's what I wanted. The check-in question here is solid. It forces the learner to actually think about what they do, not just read and click next. Now this slide, the evolution of MSC's delivery framework. This is more of a history lesson. The AI included it because the source material mentions how the methodology developed over time. But here's my human design question. Does a new PM really need to know the origin story on day one? I don't think so. To me, what they need to know is what to do. So I consider this slide to be filler, and I'm going to cut it. So I'm going to get the AI to do that work for me. I simply paste in a prompt asking it just to remove that one section entirely, then renumber the remaining screens. So I'll jump to my next tab here where I've already run that prompt. And as you can see, that screen has been removed. That was an editorial decision that the AI can't make for you. It generated content that was plausible and true, but it doesn't serve the objective. Your designers need to make that call. Okay, so now read this one with me. The MSC client kickoff meeting is a structured 60-minute engagement designed to establish stakeholder alignment across 5 critical dimensions. That doesn't sound like MSC. MSC's tone is friendly but firm, remember? Not corporate policy manual. A new PM reading this would think that they walked into a different company. So let me fix that with another prompt. So I'm pasting in a pre-made prompt, again included in your playbook, that is asking the AI to not just toss this, but to reframe it in a more conversational mode. So I'll jump to this tab where that prompt has been processed. All right, we can see that it's much better. Now it sounds like someone at MSC actually wrote it. Tone is the subtlest and most common AI miss. Every person in this virtual room has seen AI output that's technically correct, but sounds like it was written by a different company or AI. Catching that is a human skill. There's more that I'd probably do here before sending it back to Sarah, such as, splitting that dense prep screen into two, rethinking the quiz at the end. But the pattern is the point. I didn't just hit accept all and accepted what the AI gave me. I put on my instructional designer hat and asked the design questions. Does this serve the objective? Does this match the audience? Does this sound like MSC? Where the answer was no, I fixed it with just a few prompts. The AI drafts U-shape. So, Jen, what should the leaders in the audience be looking for when their team brings them a draft like this?
I think it's about the context of the person and their use of AI and the skills and strategies that they have in knowing how to apply that critical thinking. So what Adam just showed you was one designer, one brief, one AI assisted draft. But if you multiply that across your entire team of all of your projects, and if everyone's using AI produce first drafts faster, fundamentally changing the process that you have on tasks that have been done for years, you need a shared standard for what ready for review actually means. Otherwise, faster just means more inconsistency and risk is introduced into the project earlier. As we said, AI doesn't know any facts. They predict the most likely next piece of text based on statistical patterns. They're optimized for plausibility, not truth. And it doesn't know what happened after an event and will confidently make up facts that look accurate. So if the AI generates bias or incorrect information, ultimately you're the one responsible for the fallout once you hit send or publish on something. And the best results come from treating the interaction like a collaborative dialogue where you refine the output together. Having a review checklist for the human experts to use as a standard part of the process will help them tell AI exactly what it got right, where it needs refinement, and give them confidence in putting their name to the collateral before they send it to the stakeholder for that review. Because as a stakeholder, when Adam sends me something for me to review, I'm not looking at it to find out if AI used too many M dashes. What I want to know is, will this work for the task that we have at hand? Is this going to support new project managers holding a new kickoff meeting for a new project? Does it actually solve the need? It's a basic checklist that should be included as a standard with all of your project work. So let's ask our next question. What is your review process before AI generated training content goes to a stakeholder?
Yeah, we've got some great observations and questions in the chat. Um, uh, we'll definitely circle back to some of these in the Q&A session. So thank you very much. Keep them coming.
All right, I'll give everyone 5 more seconds here and I'll share the results.
All right. We want to share those results?
Sorry, yeah, they are shared. Can you see those?
Oh, sorry. Yep, that's great. So, but what's wonderful to see is that there is review that's happening and it's being reviewed. And perhaps some standardization around that process could have a big impact and make a big difference. Adam, back to you.
Great. Thanks, Jen. Okay, so this is where the real time savings show up. Most designers treat every deliverable as a separate project, separate setup, separate context gathering. But if you've already done the work of organizing your source material and defining your audience, you should be able to reuse that across every output from the same brief. That's what you're about to see. Let's take a look at what Claude generated for that scenario seed. Great. So same project, same context. I didn't re-upload anything or re-explain who MSC is. For this one, I asked for a decision-based scenario, a seed I can react to and build on. The same prompt anatomy as the storyboard. The detailed version of that prompt will be included in the toolkit. So here's what I got. A realistic setup, 3 decision points, multiple options for each, and feedback that explains the trade-offs. So I feel like the setup of this is solid. It's a new PM, first kickoff. The client wants to skip intake and jump straight to execution. That's pretty realistic. I've seen this happen, and no doubt many of you have. Decision points 2 and 3, the scope creep scenario and the missing stakeholder, those both work. And the options have real trade-offs. But if we look at decision point 1 here and option C, no, we can't skip phases. MSC has a standard process and we need to follow it. I don't know about you, but I don't think anyone would pick that. It reads like a cartoon villain version of a PM. When one option is obviously wrong, the exercise feels like a test with a right answer instead of a real judgment call. That's not good scenario design. What I want is for option C to be a reasonable move that just has different trade-offs, something a real PM might do, especially someone who's new and maybe nervous about getting the process wrong. So here's what I would get Claude to do with that. I'm pasting in the prompt that I would give it, which is effectively making this a more reasonable response. And if we jump to the next tab here and see after it's been processed, you can see how much better this is. So now all 3 options are defensible. That's a test for any scenario you build. Could a reasonable person pick each option for a defensible reason? If one option is just a throwaway, your learners will see through it. Okay, one more design note. The client in this scenario isn't a villain. He's a reasonable person with a different priority, typical of many clients. That's MSC's value in action. Assume good intent, demand clear intent, make the characters feel real. Same project, same context, same source docs. I just asked a different question. That's the reuse pattern. One brief, one workspace, multiple outputs. Think about the last project that landed on your team's desk. How many of these could you have had in draft form by the end of the day? Okay, so now I'm going to do something that you might not expect. I'm switching tools entirely. I know, crazy. But let's take a look at this. What you're seeing here is Notebook LM from Google. You may have heard of it or have used it yourselves. It's a very popular tool in the L&D space. Here in the sources panel, you can see that I've got the same source documents. It's just a different platform. What I want you to take away from this is that this workflow that I'm demonstrating isn't locked to any one tool. One of the great benefits of Notebook LM is that it generates content solely from your sources. No hallucinated content, no generic filler. Over here on the right is the Studio panel. This is where you turn those sources that you upload into deliverables. such as reports, slide decks, audio and video overviews, and more. They're constantly adding more and more features here. But for this job aid, I want to use the reports tool. So if I click on this, you can see that Notebook LM gives you some suggested formats based off of your content. But I'm going to write my own prompt so I can get exactly the structure that I need. So I've pasted in the prompt that I've pre-written. Again, the template will be included in your toolkit. But essentially, I'm following the same prompt structure that I've been using all along. Specific task, clear format, tone guidance, and a constraint to keep the bullets actionable. So I've already pre-generated this since it can take a few minutes. But let me show you what came back. So here's the job aid. It's the three phases that we've seen before, during, and after. Each section has specific scannable bullets pulled directly from the source documents. Now keep in mind, this is a performance support tool, not a learning experience. The design intent is different. It's meant to be used on the job, not in a course. And that distinction matters. And it's one that I made, not the AI. In a real workflow, I'd likely sharpen a few of the bullets, add a footer pointing to the playbook, and then I'd probably copy this export it into a document so I could send it to Sarah for her review. But the structure is solid, and it only took about only a few moments to generate. Okay, before we hop out of Notebook LM, here's a quick bonus. Same notebook, same sources, different studio tool. I don't know about you, but as an instructional designer and a graphic designer, I love infographics. And what you're seeing here is the infographic format. I gave Notebook LM the same job aid brief, and I asked it to generate a visual version. 30 seconds of prompting, same three-phase structure. But now it's something a PM could pin above their desk or drop into a Slack or Teams channel. Same content, different design intent. The report is for reference. The infographic is for at-a-glance recall. Choosing the right format is a design decision, and it's one you make based on how your learner will actually use it. So, 3 outputs from one brief. One of them delivered in 2 formats, a storyboard, a scenario seed, a job aid as a reference doc, and a visual. 2 tools, same workflow. None of them are finished, but all of them are reactable. I've got something I can send to Sarah today instead of staring at a blank screen until Wednesday. I know that was a lot. Jen, I'm going to hand it back to you because I know the question leaders and folks in the audience are asking right now is, great, that's awesome, Adam, but how do I actually roll this out to my team?
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate that. So what I've learned by leading a team through this kind of change is that the designers who do the best with AI aren't just the ones who are really good at prompting. They're the ones that already have a strong design instincts and understanding that AI gives them a faster starting point. So your role as a leader is to protect that instinct and give them the tools that allow them to be able to move faster. So, with that, create a system that provides concrete executable strategies and tools for your people to use. Start with reusable assets. There are things that can be fed into the AI tools for a multitude of different projects and help drive better alignment and consistency. Things like common terms, tone, they can be reused. They don't have to be rewritten every single time. Start with focusing also on the assets that are, first off, most often needed, and secondly, have the biggest impact on your L&D workflows. Don't try to create everything all at once. Just start somewhere and then you can add to your library. And speaking of libraries, create a prompt library and have your team share it with one another. This is something that everybody can leverage and contribute to. And keep in mind that, like every LLM tool that's out there and your content itself, everything is continually evolving, and your prompts need to evolve as well. Create an SOP, standard operating procedure, that includes review checklists that support the team on working with LLMs, spotting hallucinations, and bringing that human expertise. Let them know exactly what it is that they need to be watching for so that they don't have to figure it out on their own. And then they can be confident that they've spotted everything that they need to. Provide clarity on when to involve subject matter experts or other stakeholders in the review process. This makes it more predictable for workflows, and that supports everybody in the project. And of course, encourage experimentation. Fail fast, progress over perfection, provide feedback, and help with that continuous improvement. And this doesn't mean that you need to yeah, I think there's a spelling error. Thank you, Dolores. You don't need a 40-page governance document on this one. A very simple one-pager with key workflows is a great place to start from. You just have to start somewhere. So you saw Adam use Claude and Notebook, and he built the storyboard and scenario with Claude and then switched to Notebook for the job aid. And the outputs were really strong in both of them. But here's how to think about it with your team. If you're already using Google Workspace and you want tight integration, like being able to export to docs and such, Gemini is a really natural fit. You can use gems in Gemini, and the concept works very similar, so you can create usable custom assistants. If you're looking for a dedicated design workspace with persistent content across conversations and inline artifact editing, then Claude projects and artifacts are a strong choice for that kind of iterative refinement work. If you're already using ChatGPT and the same workflow applies to that one as well, you're just going to have some different features for your context management. So the point isn't necessarily which tool is best. The point is that the workflow has that front-loaded context, the prompt with structure, review with intent, and it'll work in any LLM that you're working with. So just pick one that your team is going to use and then create your standards around that. So we promised you that we are going to have some things that you can actually use. So here's what those are going to look like. We are going to provide the Claude project template. So the things that we put into Claude to do that initial setup. The storyboard prompt starter pack that's got the prompt anatomy within it. The design scenario design worksheet, and the AI output review checklist, because we really do want you to be able to take some of these things away and start to create some easy lift processes that you can share with your team. So to wrap all this up, AI doesn't have to, and it won't replace your designers. It gives them a head start. And your role is to make sure that that head start is pointed in the right direction. So define your use cases, give your team good prompts, build in the human checkpoints, and let them do what they do best, which is designing training that actually changes how people work. Adam, anything you wanted to add to that?
Uh, just this. So, Monday morning, you're going to get an email in your inbox. It's going to be a brief that's a little vague, a little urgent, a little imperfect. And that used to be the hard part of your day. But starting now, I hopefully after you get that fancy toolkit from us, it'll be the easy part because you're going to know where to start and your expertise is going to tell you what good looks like when it comes back. So take this and go build something awesome.
That's fantastic. We really enjoyed our time together. I know there was a few questions that we didn't get to in the chat So we'd love to spend a bit of time and try to answer those with you with some time that we have left.
Yes, thank you both. This has been a really incredible session. I think all of our attendees agree in the chat with that. Yeah, I noticed, Jennifer, you were able to answer a couple in there. I tried to pull some that we may have not gotten. So there is some about just like the different AI tools, right? So Dolores asked, I love that this workflow is reusable across different AI tools. Do you find that one AI is better suited to a project type over another? If so, what have you noticed? And then she says, we're allowed to use Copilot and Claude.
Um, Great. I'm happy to take this question, and really, I have tried to be as tool agnostic as possible. I have experience with ChatGPT, Gemini, Notebook, LM, and Claude, and it each one has its own pros and its own strengths and weaknesses. Really, it's what I've learned is it's each tool can get you something good. It's just figuring out how to just tweak your prompts just a little bit to squeeze out that extra bit of juice out of them. So um, and really that can just come from iteration. So what I find that I'll start with a prompt that I know works regardless of which tool I'm using, and then just like what you saw today, I will just iterate from there, see what it gets me, ask it to refine it and go. And to one of the other questions from earlier where AI workflows break down. This it's really when you try to give an AI basically the whole task, and this is the thing that I see happen so often is you'll just say, you know, make an entire course based off of this. That's so broad. You need to think more iteratively and more thoughtfully with your AI, and regardless of which tool you use. I hope that was helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, and so Hanif had some questions here as well. I know, Jennifer, you got to some of them, but how do you structure AI workflows so they're reusable across different programs, audiences, or designers without turning them into rigid, one-size-fits-all processes?
I'm happy to address that one. It it's to me it's about context. Um, you start from a strong foundation of prompts that we use across our projects, but as the instructional designer, excuse me, I adjust those prompts to the specific client or project, the content, the learner audience each time. And that's what prevents it from feeling generic. And it keeps it fresh and it keeps it on brand and specifically authentic to that learner audience and to that client. If I just drop in, a generic prompt, every single time, it's going to give me, something fairly vanilla in return. But when I'm working with our clients, they want things to align with their voice. In this case, I wanted it to match MSC's voice, and providing it with examples of their materials and explaining, what they sound like, how they communicate, what terms they use, and then for visuals, giving them their brand guidelines and standards. Feed all of that in, and that really helps you get something very bespoke and out of the system.
Thank you, Adam. Those were some great tips there. I'm sad to say we are just about out of time, but this has been really a wonderful way to wrap up our day today. So thank you so much, Adam and Jennifer, for your time. Yeah, really, really wonderful. And thank you to everybody else for joining us today. I have a couple extra resources to share with you. Yeah, and so thanks to our dynamic speakers, our sponsors, Camtasia, ComLab India, DID, GP Strategies, and Neovation Learning. All of today's sessions are pre-qualified for a credit hour by SHRM, HRCI, ISPI, and if you are a CPTM, this event qualifies for 5 credit hours. So do not forget to put this in your tracker, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to courses@trainingindustry.com. And I would love to meet all of you here in Raleigh, North Carolina for the 2026 Training Industry Conference and Expo. TICE is where learning leaders like you gather to forge new professional connections, learn from each other, and address your most pressing learning challenges. Re-energize your learning initiatives at TICE 2026 this summer. And if you're looking to elevate your L&D career, revolutionize your training programs with artificial intelligence integration, and drive impactful results, learn to use AI for skills gap analysis and personalized learning pathways, and tips for ethical AI use in L&D with the AI Essentials for Training Managers Certificate. One last reminder that a survey will pop open in your browser upon exiting, and we would really welcome your feedback on the sessions and our speakers. And thanks again so much for all your time today. Thanks again to Adam and Jennifer for wrapping us up. And until next time, I'm Avery. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Thanks, everyone.